Of course.
So,
I knew.
you knew, did you? So, hello everyone, we are back again. Come ask us anything as we go through your questions. Look, we see you've got some good questions prepped. That's what we like to hear. All right, you get the questions going, and we will try and answer them to the best of our ability.
Indeed. I was just thinking that pressure on.
Pressure on. Always a ton of pressure. So I'll let you go first, there, Barry. You tell us what's the crack.
Well, in the UK, well, it's in parts of the UK, I should say, just for your benefit, Duncan. We're enjoying some unusually warm weather, so I'm absolutely roasting at the minute, which is good. It's just a shame that I can't enjoy the sun as much as I should. But no, aside of that, gaming wise, I guess what have I been up to? I've been playing some Kartcraft on GeForce Now. I picked it up, and because I love it, I love a racing game, as we probably everybody gathers by now. But I picked it up. I managed to get it for a really good price, and do you know what? I'm having some fun with it. It's I've only been doing kind of the little bits of the tutorial and stuff, and just learning the mechanics. I'm going to do a video for the channel on it, actually, just give people a first look at it. But it is some seriously good fun. I can't wait to get stuck into the races and kind of just getting through that learning curve, because I think from my perspective, I'm used to either driving an F1 car or grid or something like that. But the handling characteristics of the kart, they've got spot on, and it almost feels at first difficult to drive with a controller, because you're like, oh god, I know how I need to make it, but it looks and runs really, really well. So I was running 4K 60 maxed out, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, it's good then. So while we're playing, I will give you my weather update. It's close to putting the heat on sort of temperatures over here, which is flipping absolutely nuts.
It's taking the mick.
Yeah, it's real. It's actually quite, I wouldn't say cold, but it's not t-shirt and short weather. Even just risking a t-shirt is actually pushing it out there, and it's really mad. It's just so how close everything is, but yet so far away.
Yeah, it is.
And we're not even getting any weather warnings for the weekend. We're going up to a balmy 22 degrees at the weekend, where everybody else is like getting 40. So I don't know what's going on.
That is mental.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been playing a fair amount of games, and it's been all good fun there. And I've actually, I won't talk about the game I found there yesterday, which I completed in
which I have now bought thanks to you.
It's a nice 30 minutes sort of game. It's like a snack game, which I've completely and utterly forgot the name of.
What, the game you told me to get?
Yes.
Refunked.
It can run on a potato, so you can play it on Shadow and stuff like that. It's not on GFM, which is a bit unfortunate. But it's in one of these games I would call as a refreshing sort of game. It's a game if you just want to break up something you've just completed the game and you just want some nice wee small game just to finish off. Get that. It's 49p, so it'll be like 77 cents or something like that.
Yeah, less than $1.
Yeah, less than $1 anyway. It's well worth picking up, and it is a perfect game for the Steam Deck. It is a Steam Deck game, so yeah, go check that out. So we will go through this. So if you want to chuck in your questions, we will start answering. First of all, look, we cannot talk about what games are coming to GFN or predict what games are coming to GFN tomorrow. So unfortunately, we will not do that.
See, look, Shadow Dark. See, he's having the same thing I'm having.
Yeah. We can cook the Yorkshire puddings up there. That's the spirit. That's definitely the.
That's the way to do it. That is the way to do it.
So yeah, Barry, we'll start off with the big news of the week in Stadia Land.
Yes.
And what's that game called again? The stupid game, Saints Row. Saints Row is coming to Stadia day and date, which is absolutely great to hear. What do you think about it?
I think it is a good get. I think that for all the twos and fro's and the back and forth in on it, it's glad to have clarity, and I think for a lot of people they'd be glad to have clarity in advance, which is all we'd want really, because ultimately, if people know where it is and where it's going to be available on launch day, then they now have the choice and the option as to where they can buy it, and that's what people want. Hopefully people haven't already pre-ordered it on one platform because they weren't sure, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be, in terms of a summer title, it's going to be a strong summer title. I think there's a lot of people looking forward to it, so it'd be good, but I think equally it's one of those titles that I think you're probably going to divide people. You're probably going to get people that are not interested, they don't want to play it, and then you're going to get the other side of the people, where they're really looking forward to it, and they're looking forward to having some fun with it, because it's generally Saints Row titles are pretty crazy, a little bit off the wall, and there's a good bit of humour and stuff in there as well.
Yeah, I know I've been getting pelters about this when the news broke about me saying it wasn't coming. I was just relaying the information that I got off the publisher, and they've obviously been not allowed to talk about it. So that is that. But with it actually coming, I think it's absolutely great. It is a good game to get, but we want to know what else is coming. It's always what's next, and Saints Row will not be for everybody. Would be the best way of putting it, and I want to hear what's happening with FIFA. Again, I think FIFA is going to come for the Stadia this year, just because they're building in the next year's big changeover. So I'm putting it out there. I think FIFA is coming to Stadia, especially go down with the Mexico expansion as well. So, publisher or 2K games need to be on GFM.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've been banging that drum since, I don't know, the last quarter of last year, thinking it had to happen. They had to get it sorted so that they could have Tiny Tina at launch, and it's still not happened. I'm surprised it's not happened, if I'm honest with you. I would have thought it would have happened by now, but it's got to happen, surely. Yes.
My thoughts exactly. I think 2K is going to be one of the big devs to come back to GFN. That is what I'm going to continue to say.
You can see it now, can't you? GFN Thursday, 2K or not 2K.
Yeah. If and when that comes, I just want that to come as soon as possible, because there's just so many good games that they have, and that means then it could open up the door to some of the sports games as well. So
yeah, it certainly does.
It's pretty good there. Oh, we've got a question about Shadow. What, Barry? I'm testing you here. Recap the Shadow news.
You could do the recap because you did the interview.
Oh, flip. That means I have to remember things, and my memory is really bad. Shadow interview. I actually came away very impressed with after speaking to the Shadow guys. Basically, they gave a rundown of what's coming and longer sort of finger sort of stuff, and we asked the questions about the monetization of Shadow and how that has not gone down well, and what's the justification for the new pricing. So we'll start off with that, because that's the nice beefy sort of one there. Basically, it's down to cost. So they want to become viable, would be the best way. Long-term viability is their goal, and before they were actually, I think they was basically saying they were losing money hand over fist, and the new pricing is just to make sure that they can make a profit and keep the lights on, and then function out from that down the line. I did try and get some bits and bobs out from them, but I think it is what, as we expected, probably what's going to happen with GFN as well, or their top tier is then going to filter down when you refresh the top tier again and do that sort of. That's how it's going to work in theory. But basically, the pricing is there so that they make money now. And they're doing, and they were pains to actually say this, they're doing absolutely everything illegally, and they are getting all the boxes ticked. All the Microsoft licenses are 100% bought and things like that, and it costs them so much money to actually get them from each of them. They also touched on that they're going to be expanding bits and bobs out there as well, and their Shadow Drive, which is basically a Google Drive, and that's really competitively priced.
Nice, good stuff. We did, and to be fair, I think there were a couple of, shall we say, try-in or testing questions thrown in with them. I know that, you don't feel like they, and certainly I know when I spoke to you after you'd kind of spoken to, and kind of done the interview, you were quite sort of forthcoming in sort of saying, do you know what, they answered the questions, they just went for it, there were no bullets dodged, they just answered, which is good, and that's what you want.
Exactly what we want, and I know guys have been saying that I haven't asked the questions to Boosteroid. That question, which everybody wants to be asked to Boosteroid about the games, is getting asked at our next interview. I said to him, "Can we answer that?" And he said, "Yeah, we'll go into that next time." So yeah, it's real interesting stuff there. Andrew, we've got a couple of questions here. Okay, everybody start dropping your questions in. Nothing is off the table here.
Apart from GFN Thursday news.
Yes, exactly.
Just put that out there.
Yes. Let me see. Who do you think GeForce Now will partner with next?
I'm sticking with my gut. I'm sticking with my gut, and I'm saying 2K is next on the cards.
I muted myself again. I'm going to go somewhere completely different. I'm going to put a curveball in here, and it's going to be a two-pronged announcement.
Okay.
iRacing and steering wheel can support.
Oh, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Especially because you've got both.
Yes. Exactly, that's the important thing. I'm just being selfish because I want it on there. iRacing is the number one sim racing game out there. There's different levels, but iRacing is the one where people want to win and get the top off, and that's where all the big people sort of you see your Max Verstappens and all that are in iRacing and things like that. And that's where I want them to go to next. And with steering wheel support, because we know they're starting to get a bit more racing games on there, so I'm hoping it will come.
That'd be a cracking one if they did. That'd be a really, really good kind of addition if they managed to get that. Not only like iRacing itself, but if they managed to put in the steering wheel support and have it officially supported, that would be brilliant. Because there are a couple of racing games obviously already, or a number of racing games already available on GeForce now, so it would definitely be a smart move.
Yeah. That's where I really want them to go to next, because I think I would open up the ballpark to a whole brand new sort of audience, because we know there's so many people want to get into sim racing, but getting into sim racing is extremely expensive because you need a top PC to do that, for which then GFN has with the 3080 tier, and if they partner up, it would reduce the barrier down, and then you just need your root steering wheel to go with it.
Yes, you do indeed.
Cool. xCloud has less fidelity and quality than playing on an Xbox console. Is this the same with GFN or other cloud gaming ring compared to playing on a regular PC?
Interesting. Funny thing about that is, and I think you know what I'm going to say here, but I've actually found that for me personally, xCloud has probably performed at its best on the console for me. Whereas I tend to notice that in terms of fidelity...
I think he's meaning... does it play better on PC, a straight up PC, or does it play better on GeForce Now?
Oh, right, okay. So, right, okay, I misunderstood the question. I do apologise.
Yeah, I read it over twice as well, because I took it the same way as you the first time there, but I'm just it is the same with GFN or other compared to Realm playing on regular PC. So it's xCloud looks worse than playing on Xbox itself. What about on PCs?
Okay, right. In which case then that kind of changes, I guess, what I was about to say. Fundamentally, I think with cloud right now, or certainly a vast majority of cloud services out there, I think because of either resolutions or bit rates in that sort of thing, in terms of the streams, you are definitely noticing a difference between, if you were playing the console at top whack in comparison to cloud, you will see a difference between the two. And I think with GFN and the other cloud services, in comparison to playing a regular PC, across the main, I think you will. The only one thing I probably would say is if you were a top tier on GeForce Now, and we've also got a couple of comparisons on the channel, when you look at the 3080 on GeForce Now compared to a 3080 in a PC, some of the differences are so minute. It's kind of like a lot of people would notice, whether it be an image just slightly lighter, or or darker, or color saturation slightly better in some areas. It's fine margins, particularly with GFN, if you're comparing a 3080 to a 3080 on a PC.
Yeah, I'm going to go for my naming sort of way of doing it. There's only two services which I would say would be comparable to playing locally when you take out the latency, and that is Shadow and GFN. I think they are the only two which could get a pass as being played as locally. Shadow, we know their updates are coming out later in the year, and they're going to up their specs, so it's going to become more comparable to GFN. GFN's 3080 tier is the gold standard of cloud gaming, and if you're on that and you're within a reasonable amount of a data center, you could pass that off as a 3080. And I think that's the only service where it's apples with apples being extremely close when you're comparing 3080 to 3080, as you said there. For me, the 3080, if you've got a potato PC, you go onto that and you've got a 4K monitor and you meet the minimum, you're going to see an absolute world of difference. xCloud is xCloud. For me, playing xCloud on the console is pretty good, but you can definitely tell that it's not 100%. Same with PlayStation Now. But it's all the services, and that's GFN, or not GFN, all the services like Stadia, xCloud, PS Now, Boosteroid, all them are all past the playable sort of stage. It's all where you want to play now.
Yeah, well, definitely. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, okay. Have we went over the Haven news? I'm going to ask Barry. Barry, what's the Haven news? No, I'm not. The Haven news is very, very, very interesting to me. If it wasn't clear before, it's 100% clear now. The Haven game is pretty much the game which is going on to Stadia, or was going to go on to Stadia, because it's going to be pulling in a ton of cloud tech, and that is really exciting. We've got the two big console makers in PlayStation and Xbox making cloud-focused games. We know Xbox is making a couple of them, and the only one majorly announced is the Hideo Kojima game, which is also meant to be on Stadia. And PlayStation have got the other big game with Jade Raymond, and it is really, really exciting to see that. So basically, in their statement with Game Industry Biz, they went over a bit off the top there, and it is being hammed up a hell of a lot that this is going to be basically a cloud-focused game, which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen the stuff top level. Not kind of the in depth and the kind of the nitty gritty stuff, but it was good to see kind of the fact that whilst obviously Jade's gone on, she's been picked up by and Haven obviously has been formed and in the PlayStation kind of family. It's good to see actually the impact that she's now actually starting to have, feeding and seeping into kind of that PlayStation element. She seems to be having an impact and kind of maybe pushing forward the thought process on cloud, and I think that's really, really, from the one bit that I did see earlier, was the fact that she was talking about they mentioned the fact that they've actually got no IT in-house, it's all in the cloud, which I think that in itself is probably for a lot of people is a shift, and it shows how well they've adapted to working and what the possibilities are.
Yeah, and I think the big thing out from this as well, and again from what I have heard of a couple of people, this game at Haven is going to be nuts, and it is really impressing people, and it's impressed PlayStation that much they went out and bought them. So that should get people's attention, that they have actually been not excited about this game coming from Haven, that they went out and bought them up before anybody else could get their claws into them. I just can't wait to see where it goes, and I think we're a couple of years away from it, but I'm hoping we'll get a tease maybe end of this year, maybe at the Game Awards or early next year, on where that is going. But yeah, the Haven news is exciting, and this is what we want out from Clyde, to new experiences and pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, and it is exactly that. It's creating those experiences that have not been able to have truly been done before. And as you say, pushing the boundaries, that's an important thing, because as gamers, I think we're always wanting something more. We want something new, something different. And I think you've got two what you'd kind of classify as powerhouses on the opposite sides of both crafting something that essentially could be pretty spectacular, that are that is obviously going to be cloud centric.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and then we have to wait till Nintendo catches up to see what they're going to do, because we know Nintendo are always like a generation or maybe two generations behind, and we're just seeing them with their new Nintendo Online subscriptions. That's only catching up to like Games of Gold and PlayStation Plus from back in the 360 and PlayStation 3 years, because they're always a bit, but I want to see where they're going. Do we think Streamer Life Simulation and Internet Cafe Simulator 2 will come to GFN?
It's always a possibility. They've got an absolute stack of simulator games on GeForce now. So I would not be surprised.
I was just doing a wee quick look there, and both games have not opted into GFN at this moment in time. For people who don't know, if you go to steamdb.info, you can type in games there, and it will tell you if they've opted into GeForce Now or not. That opt-in just basically says that they want to come, they're happy for their games to come to GFN. That's the first step in the process of the games going on to GFN. It is an indication of games coming to GFN. It doesn't mean that the games are coming, but both of them have not opted in at this moment in time. Okay. What do we think about Skull and Bones on Stadia? Okay,
can I just take the Skull and Bones part?
Yeah.
Because I know we were talking about it at the weekend, weren't we? And I was kind of playing a little bit of catch up with the kind of the gameplay stream from Thursday, or the overview. Do you know what? Even though you said a couple of the bits that you did, when then kind of flicking through the trailer, I couldn't watch it all, if I'm honest with you, because it kind of had me zoned out. I was like, I don't think this is. I feel like it's still in the oven. If I'm honest, it's still baking. It's not even ready to see the light of day. But I think there's so much pressure on it now because it's been a project that's been in, out, talked about, disappeared, heard nothing. I kind of feel like they just need to shift it on and kind of get it out and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to make this statement and then I'll take the Stadia part after. Do not buy Skull and Bones no matter what the platform you are on. That means Xbox, Stadia, GFN. Do not buy Skull and Bones. That game is going to drop in price just like that. It looked like a free-to-play game when I seen the trailer, and seeing the price for 70 quid, it's an absolute no-go. It is just going to get absolutely slaughtered in October when it comes out. It's coming out the day before God of War Ragnarok, and you're going, what is going on there? The game just looks an absolute mess. It looks like a free-to-play game which you're paying full price for, and you can already see that there's going to be cosmetics in the game as well, which is going to be more on top of it. It just looks a complete disaster, and that's platform agnostic. How will it run in Stadia is going to be another question. I have a feeling that it's not going to run too well on Stadia, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. At this moment in time, it's next gen only, and I just have a horrible feeling that it is going to be god awful on Stadia, and I don't think Luna is another ballpark. I think it may run slightly better on Luna, just because it's less hassle to get it over there. But I recommend that no one buy the game, because it's going to be an absolute waste of money. And within a month or two, it's just going to be in the bargain basement and 50% off or 75% off really, really quick. And the previews which have came out for it as well have been absolutely poor as well.
Yeah, that's not good. It's not good at all. Considering it's next gen only, and I don't know if it was just me, but seeing and I know you've got, let's say, a little way to go, and whatever, but I don't even think, looking at the fidelity, the detail in kind of the characters and things like that, I didn't even feel like it looks like a game that you would classify as next gen only, if that makes sense. Because it didn't strike me as being, I don't know, it didn't strike me as being that power hungry beast that would need to be a next gen only game just by looking at it, and that's what surprised me.
Yeah, so you think that's putting up more, this is in trouble, and it's poorly optimized, and they're pushing next gen only just to make sure it's up to sort of that can run it, because it's
quite possibly, because it wouldn't surprise me if you. I don't want to say it wouldn't surprise me because it's Ubisoft. They normally bring it later, but it's not. It wouldn't surprise me if they want it on next gen so they can lock it at 60.
That's not going to be 60 on Stadia.
I mean, I don't think it. But I think if you look at it from a next gen perspective on a PS5 or an Xbox, you look at it and you think, do you know what? That'll run a lock 60 at a comfortable resolution.
But there's just so many red flags about Skull and Bones. Do not pre-order. Don't even buy it. If you want to play it on Stadia or GFN, do Ubisoft Plus for the month and save yourself a bit of money, because there's just so many things going, do not buy this game, and that's what I would recommend on that.
There we go.
Next,
I think Wolock is the next one, isn't he?
Yeah. Are you looking forward to able to play your Xbox bought games in the cloud when it launches, and do you think it will make more people play in the cloud?
I think it'll. I mean, I think for Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, or people who are Game Pass Ultimate subscribers anyway, they've made it quite easy to play in the cloud. But I think there will possibly be, dependent on how they look at phasing out which games you can purchase, or which games you've purchased, I should say, are available then to play in the cloud. I think it'll probably determine the uptake on it. I think it will certainly do more to possibly push people over the edge into trying it, if they've got the ability to say, oh, do you know what, you've got this game, play it now in the cloud. I think it will definitely pique people's interest to see how it performs, how it handles, and hopefully it should put you in a position where there's maybe some titles that do sit traditionally outside of the Game Pass sub that you might actually want to see running in the cloud.
Yeah, I think it's going to open the doors. I think Xbox have been really, really smart on what they have done. They are encouraging people to play in the cloud by making it optional and downplaying it. This is not replacing. It is replacing. We can see that with the team. They're just doing it in a very, very clever way. This is just the next step onto it. The first batch of games is going to be really interesting to see which games are going to be in the cloud, because we know not every single one will be. It's going to be a select few and then build up that way. Yeah, definitely. I think they're gonna start cautiously, start small with pockets, and kind of go from there. Yeah. Shadow Dark. So Bethesda digital games, if you own them, are going to be on xCloud. Yeah, they're all going there. What do you think they will do for people who own the PC versions? Allow on GFN, there should be an alternative for PC games.
I completely agree with Shadow Dark's statement. Do you know what? I even agree with this suggestion. I'm not sure necessarily that they will tackle it as an issue straight away from a PC perspective. I think they will start to come at it from different angles. So I think the PC approach will probably come later down the line. But I love the suggestion you've put there in terms of possibly allowing it on GFN, because I think that would it'd be a perfect place to play it.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Microsoft allow their games on GFN when when Game Pass goes on to Steam, because it just opens the door, lowers the bar, and makes GFN do the heavy lifting instead of Xbox. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But Microsoft are just really hard to read. They appear or they're putting out the public perception that they want everything everywhere when we don't, because they want all the money for themselves. They're doing very, very clever. But it's, I don't know, because we do know PC games are going on the xCloud. They've already announced that that is already in their plans. It's just going to get messy. But if you want to play your Microsoft games in the cloud, it would be a virtual PC would be the best place to play them. So that's like a maximum settings, that's like a Shadow or something along them lines.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think Epic Games will create their own cloud gaming platform?
I'm going to let you go first this time while I mull that one over, because I think I know what my gut says, but yeah. It's got you stumped as well, hasn't it?
I think they will. And the reason being, and when I say this, there'll be a moment of, oh, flip, I forgot about that. Who owns a good chunk of Tencent? Or Epic? I gave the answer away there.
I was going to say, I was thinking.
It's Tencent own an absolute massive stake in Epic. It would make sense for the Epic Games to go into the Tencent servers if they decide to creep their way western.
Yeah,
that's how I can see them doing it. But I think they're happy enough partnering up with GFM, and because they use their store, so
exactly, it's a win-win for them, isn't it?
Yeah, they're happy enough because they get their full cut from the money, and someone else is hosting, and that is the beauty with GFM. And I just don't understand why everybody else doesn't want to use it.
Life would be so much easier if they did, wouldn't it?
So what do you think?
I was going to say, I mean, obviously I discount the Tencent element. I don't think necessarily they want to do their own thing specifically. I think if you kind of said like Epic Cloud, whilst it has a nice ring to it, I don't think it's something that they necessarily want right now. I think that they're more focused on ensuring that their games are they're getting exclusives, they're making their games available to play in a multitude of places. The rest of that stuff they can possibly fold into, as you said, the Tencent stuff later down the line, or there's a multitude of options. But I think right now they want people to be able to play it where they don't have to do too much work.
Yeah. Next one is, do you see a time when Nintendo branch out from console only for their cloud offerings? Gaming in the cloud with digital purchases would be awesome.
Difficult, because I think whilst Nintendo are embracing the cloud, I don't think they are. I think their market offering is different. They are almost they've got a niche that what they do specifically with that family friendly, and a lot of the titles that kind of go into, to Switch and Nintendo. It's I still feel they've got a very nice niche carved out for them, that necessarily other kind of areas don't. So I think for them right now, it suits to do the accompanying cloud thing as and when the title is a big enough draw where they think, actually, do you know what, we can't run this natively, but it's a big game, we need to have it, let's push it to the cloud. I'm not sure that they will change their ways too soon. I think they're still on a very different path to everybody else.
Short term, no. Long term, yes. Everything will go into the cloud eventually. It's just when it goes into the cloud. So I think we're Ooh, I would say 5-6 years before you even hear an inkling out from Nintendo, because they will leave it to the last moment to start talking about the cloud stuff. Even them doing like the cloud games on the Switch, that's just complete baby steps. For them to actually start fully embracing it, I think we're a long time away. They're just using that as a nice wee stepping stone in that regard.
Yeah.
Again, Nintendo just speak to a completely other drum to everybody else, and it's a load of fun.
Yeah. No, exactly. They were on it. Yeah.
I was going to say
Carry
something. There was some Nintendo news this week, wasn't there? Which I have completely forgot about.
I've sure seen something flash up in my news feed, but as to what it specifically was, that would remain to.
That would be. We'll have to work that out then. Well, I'll come back to me. It will come back to me.
I've just googled it. The only thing I can see is Bayonetta 3. Quick, very top level. That's the only thing I could see. But
and the new console's rumored to be coming as well, but that's just a rumor. Question: who do you think will bring out the first cloud native game? Microsoft, Tencent, or Sony? Gandara, I see your comment here. That is technically correct, but I think what Andrew Mama knows means is that a full proper cloud native game with cloud only stuff actually built for the cloud. So who do you think?
It's difficult because we've already, I think we were talking about this last week, you've got Tencent kind of lifting the lid a little bit on, and kind of obviously what they're working on. If I was to, and this probably loops back to our earlier conversation, if I was the type of person to put a bet on, I would probably say the Haven Studios title is the first one that we will see emerge.
I'm going to say, again, cloud exclusive stroke cloud native game, it's two different sort of things, but Gandara, your point is completely and utterly valid, and that is the power of exclusives, because you cannot play Guild anywhere else, and that is why exclusives are so important. For the first cloud native game, I'm going to say Microsoft, and I think it is going to be a small game. It will be something daft, like a prototype game. I can see them sticking out a load of wee small prototype games, because they've got a publishing arm there, so they could do some experimentations, like a smaller type game, like say, I'm going to get my reference in, like a Slay the Spire or something along
every week.
I can see them going for that, or adapting like one of them games, like, and chucking in like a state share sort of feature just to get the ball rolling and do some experimenting. I don't think we're actually going to be waiting too long for the first cloud games, and I can't wait to see how it actually goes down, because I think it could be very interesting. So if Microsoft did that, or PlayStation, click here, play my game, play my level, that could really get a lot of traction for people. But that's where I'm thinking. I think we're going to see a smaller, like nearly prototype games or older games with tacked on features. Then we're going to see a big, massive cloud native game. Or it could be September with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed.
It's a possibility, I guess, isn't it? That is a possibility. Yeah. I mean, do you know what? Listening to you talk, my head goes to a combination of Asobu and Haven. You know, you're thinking like the Playroom for PlayStation. Think about them teaming up with Haven and doing this is cloud native, and kind of almost like a a visual guide to this is how it works, and like little bits, so you're learning without realizing, in terms of about how the cloud technology works, and and that sort of thing. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, because for people who haven't played on the PlayStation 5, there are Astro's
Playroom. Yeah,
it's an absolutely brilliant game, teaching you about the controller. It is absolutely class, and it's an easy platinum if you're into platinums. But yeah, that's right. That's what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be like mini games and baby steps until we get into the big games, because the big games are going to take such a long time to make. There was actually something out today about AAA games. There's an absolute desert of AAA games. There's so much demand for them, and it's not being met. And the costs involved in this are just astronomical. And it's really fascinating how it's all going. And this is what we've been talking about PlayStation, about will they drop their games day one into PlayStation Plus. It's because everybody is going into the gas, because the gas is the only way to sustain the big, massive games now. Because they're in the hundreds of millions of dollars to make these AAA games, and they need to get their money back. And because they're costing so much, and all the power of these new consoles, they're pushing them out, it's actually costing so much more money to actually build the games, which is actually making it longer, and everything's just getting round up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Warlock, do you think Luna will ever launch outside the US? Outside, I think they've got in fact this on Twitter for all this moment. I think, okay, I will say this as vaguely as I can. From what I'm led to believe, and you can actually see it in other places as well, Luna seem to be gearing up for something. Is it an expansion or something else? I do not know. But I have been told they're gearing up, and you can see they're gearing up. So I'm hoping that they expand out, because competition is what we want.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I mean, I genuinely hope it's one of the cloud services. Actually, I say one of. It's the cloud service that I'm kind of like willing to just get out of the US only, and kind of make it to Europe, because I feel like we've been talking about it for so long, and we just want to experience it for ourselves, to actually see and understand things like, people talk, and you see people's streams, but people talk about the bit rate and the quality. Yes, you could look at it and say, oh, it's only 1080, but when you hear what the sort of the bit rate level that it runs at 1080 60, the stream is so solid and so detailed that you almost forget, and you're like, actually I don't care that it's 1080 60, because it runs locked at that rate, and it's got a good fidelity rate, and that I'm really eager to try it from that perspective. And there's a couple of cool features as well, like the couch stuff. There's just things about it that you kind of think, I actually want to see. I want to test it. I want to, put it through its paces and see how it performs. So I genuinely hope that it hurries up to come out of the US.
Yeah. Some of the job listings for Luna are going over the border into Canada now. There's some jobs in Canada. So there's to get some more people worked up. But yeah, Luna does seem like they're gearing up. You seen from a video a couple of weeks ago where we talked about there's expansions getting talked in some of the job listings as well. It could mean expansions as in more channels, or does it mean what everybody is hoping for, expansions the other way? So yeah, it's very, very interesting with Luna. We're hoping to hear some more shortly. Even if they get some big bangers channels there, it's going to increase the pressure to expand even more. Yeah,
of course it is, absolutely. And you see already, there's it was only very recently dropping the, Resi 2, Resi 3. And people were like, oh my god, like, and kind of stuff like the Prime Gaming. That they are slowly but surely making all the right moves and getting some games that people actually want to play. It's just obviously, it is just taking its time.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see how it is going to evolve. I'm really frustrated that they haven't came across. It's just really, really annoying. Yeah. And let's hope that they start making the moves here. Okay, this is a question for you. Can we see a Peppa Pig comparison?
I seen this comment in the chat and I was thinking, I so know you're going to pick on me for this one and say, look, can we see it? Well, baby steps for a new comparison, I guess.
Yeah, Gandara, I'm just going to say here, I think you're bringing up some amazing points here in the chat here, so just keep banging them away here. How close is cloud gaming to fully replacing traditional gaming? Have there been any large jumps in market share and adoption rate from gamers, or is growth more slow?
Okay, I guess to touch on probably the first point, I think we're probably easily 8 to 10 years away. I would think it's still that far off, and I know that for those of us that are either in chat or have been kind of enjoying cloud gaming for longer than that, you kind of think to yourself, what, seriously, you still think it's that long? But I genuinely do think that it's 8 to 10 years, because the adoption, and I know Vlad spoke about it at Boosteroid, and we touched on this last week. Music, video, they've all taken their time for people to wean off consoles into streaming platforms, and I do have a very similar view in that respect. In this, it's going to take time, but adoption is difficult because you're used to that box under the TV. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people will celebrate the fact they don't have to have a TV under their box, and I'm sure there's a lot of either husbands or wives that'll be like, yeah, thank God there's not a box under the TV, that's brilliant. But I still think it's a good 8 to 10 years, and I think in terms of market shares, I mean, obviously there's people that have got services out there. I mean, the ones that are doing well talk about it confidently. Obviously GFN spring to mind, with they're into the millions of kind of their subscribers, good double-digit millions at that, in terms of their subscriber base.
15.
Exactly, there we go. And then obviously you've got people like xCloud that are showcasing, that particularly in the UK, there's X amount of a percentage of their 25 million user subscriber base is playing games in the cloud. So, if you look, 15 million GFN, 25 on xCloud, and that percentage there. And then, of course, go back to PlayStation, PS Now being the most popular cloud gaming service in the UK. You think to yourself, that in itself is a bit of a crazy stat, because it's underestimated. I'd never in a month of Sundays would I put PS Now at the top for cloud gaming. And you look at kind of all those numbers, 2 million, thank you, there we go. Duncan's giving us a running total as we go here. And you already think, by the time you take, let's say, I think it was just under 50% of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers are playing games in the cloud at the time they last spoke about it, which based on nearly 25 million means we've got 12.5, plus obviously what we've got coming in from elsewhere, GFN with their 15, 2 million from PS Now. That's a sizable chunk of people that are playing it already, but there's still a long way to go for that to become a mainstream thing.
I'm going to ask you a question here. If every single game was available on the 3080, where would you play?
3080.
And that's the GFN 3080. This is the point I was going to go. For me, I am close to being. This is the person who just bought a new console today, so we'll go talk about that. This, along with GFM, for me is the perfect combination. And it's. I love my Steam Deck. The Steam Deck for me is a transformative sort of device, and we're seeing it out there with everybody. You've got your Steam Deck, and if you want to play on your TV or sit down in the monitor, you've got GFN. For me, that is the absolute perfect harmony. If every single game is available on GFN, I would be playing GFN all the time, because that can replace your traditional console or PC. It is that good. The problem we have, and we're going to see it going forward, we've been talking about this for years now, even though we were called absolute nutters for saying this. It comes back to what Barry was talking about with Guilt exclusives, and we're going to see the amount of fragmentation over the next couple of years while all these cloud gaming services pop up. There's going to be cloud exclusives on all these different platforms, and that is just going to become a complete another mess, and that is where we're going to have problems, and there's going to be winners and there will be losers, because it's always going to come back to content. And so yes, it can replace it. When will it replace it? I think we're a generation, I think next generation, so that's PlayStation 6 and Xbox whatever. Xbox whatever will be the last big massive console generation, and then we'll be weaned off it, and we're starting to get weaned off consoles at this moment in time. But I think next generation is going to be the next big one, and then we are going to start moving. I think Stadia had a real chance to push this forward, but we're not, and sort of messed it up. They could have really hammered home playing, and the marketing wasn't right, and we just didn't get it right, which was really frustrating. Speaking of Stadia, that's why I was doing a bit of a link there. Stadia has a lot of quality of life features and true click and play platform. I'm gonna freak people out because I don't think people know about this, but I will go there. But I hear a lot of the games are capped to 30 FPS, so is their hardware falling behind? I will give my little factoid, and I'll let you answer. Did you know that GeForce Now has click and play?
Yes.
Yes.
I did.
You did know that? Yes.
And I can't remember why I know that, but yes.
Basically, I could drop a link into the chat here, and you could click on that link, and you could boot up Fortnite and GFM if you've got an account.
Yes.
It's one of their features which they haven't really developed, but we're getting sidetracked. Do you think Stadia is falling behind because of their current hardware?
I think so. I mean, I think when you look at if you look at their custom GPUs that they're running, looking at kind of in the area that they are kind of running and supporting, they're certainly, that they are lagging. And I think generally overall the actual core configuration of kind of what powers Stadia is certainly running behind or below par. And I think next gen, obviously, I think when we were talking about cloud and kind of PC, and will the experience be better, earlier on. But I think when you see at the rate that hardware is changing, and then when you see what things like the next generation or current generation now consoles, you need to stop calling them next gen, what they've delivered and what they've been capable of unlocking, I think it makes you appreciate that the hardware under the hood in Stadia is kind of needing some love, some treatment, some development, because I think fundamentally Stadia is probably capable of a lot more, but I think a lot of the time I feel like hardware limitations now. There's an element of software, but hardware limitations are holding Stadia back. But it's a chicken and egg scenario, isn't it? If you look at a 2-year journey that's been bumpy, you have to ask yourself the question, as an executive at Google's level, are you going to sign a big fat check to sign off on upgrading a load of custom hardware so that they can get, let's say, Stadia to RDNA 2 and things like that, level with the latest generation of graphics cards, pushing the boundaries and the specs?
For me, it is yes and no to the question.
I thought you were just going to say yes then.
Yeah.
Going to make me feel so bad for a long answer.
No, it's not. It's like you said, it's very, very complicated with Stadia. It is well known now, even though, again, we were told we were talking nonsense for a long time. Stadia is an absolute pain to go for. There's extra hoops. I've been told by a couple of developers that the power is on. You can unlock the power in Stadia. The Stadia does have but it's a pain in the backside to actually get to harness it. That's why you see some ports look absolutely amazing, like the Division 2 and the Resident Evil port wasn't too bad either. You can actually go there and do stuff. But for me, it's more software, and it looks like Stadia are addressing that with the low-cost porting tool. But it doesn't matter if Stadia had a 3080, because every single week on our GFN videos, when are GFN bringing the games to harness the 3080, and GFN are dropping at least 6 or 7 games each week, and the complaints are that there isn't enough games to actually showcase it. Stadia is getting less games, so for me, it's fundamentally Stadia's issue is still games. They need more games, and more games, more ways for people to come in. If Stadia, going back to what we were talking about with xCloud, they could drop a cloud-only sort of version of, I'll pick a different game now, there's a game, what's the game? Enter the Gungeon's already on Stadia. Enter the Gungeon with a seed on it. Pick up my seed, play my level, play how I play it. That as a draw, there's no big draw to go to Stadia at this moment in time, and especially with what xCloud is going to be bringing in the next couple of months with the buying of games being playable. That is the competition there, and Stadia is just stuck in the middle. They don't know if they want to stick or twist. Do they want to be a storefront, or do they want to be a subscription? They need to get off this. What they're doing at this moment in time is just enough for the people who are already invested in Stadia. Or you hit when I go on these sort of ones.
No. It's all right. I was just scanning the chat and I just seen a question that made me laugh. So.
Stadia is just doing enough for the people who are already invested in Stadia. They're not doing enough to draw people into Stadia. What you say, Stadia has reunited gamers. People who didn't used to play are now playing games now because of Stadia. And what happens? They get the appetite for playing these games, and then Stadia is not matching up to their newfound appetite of gaming, and then they go elsewhere. It's just, and then they go out from Stadia, but they want Stadia to still succeed, and that's where we are with Stadia. It's more about the games rather than the tech for me. The tech is beginning to show its age, but the tech doesn't matter if we don't have the games to go with the tech. It's the long way of saying it.
No, all good shouts. Fair enough.
Look, do you think some of the gaming clans would move to cloud gaming? I'm talking about the game. This is going to be another Stadia one here. All I'm going to say is yes, they will, and Stadia has the tools to actually do this.
I was only joking.
Yeah, because they've got Stream Connect. Stream Connect should be the number one way to play Rainbow Six Siege or games like that for people who don't know, Stream Connect is it shows you what your teammates are doing. That should be they should have been hammering that home. They should have sponsored some tournaments. Like I know it sounds a lot of money, like 50 grand tournament on Rainbow Six Siege on Stadia with Stream Connect. You would have got a load of big teams there. They would live stream it, and you build up from there. That could be a completely new way to play this. But yes, I do think cloud gaming will become a place where people will play esports down the line, and Outcasters is not an esport. What would you?
No, I don't think it's there yet. I think just purely because going back to cloud adoption and the mindset, I think from that perspective, I don't think necessarily there are people who are quite, not everybody, but I don't think necessarily that the masses that are in that space are kind of adopting it just yet. But yeah, longer term, it's an entirely a possibility. Couldn't get my words out then. And you think as well. Some of the things you think are interesting is, like, if you have like an esports tournament as they often do, in a centralized location with the cloud. Obviously, those venues have got to make sure that they've got substantial internet in order to host all of those streams at those rates and make sure that things like latency and stuff like that doesn't drop. So I think from a sheer performance perspective, I think that there's probably concerns in that respect in that space, but it'll happen. Duncan's found something, or he's remembered something. No.
I was getting yes, I was getting rid of the naughty stuff.
Oh right, okay.
That's what I was doing.
Dear oh dear.
Yes, it's awful, that, isn't it?
It's shocking.
And just completely ticking them off there. So, yeah, there we go. What question are we at now?
I think we're Kay's ball, where he's asking. Let me just highlight it. There we go. Duncan's pushed the button before me. Favourite game of all time, favourite retro game, and favourite ice hockey team. Go on, you can go first.
See, it all depends what day you get me for this. Because for me, there's no standout game for me. It could be a Civilization day, it could be a Football Manager day, it could be a BioShock day, it could be a Final Fantasy VII day. But I'll go for Final Fantasy VII that will be today's one. Say didn't do the BioShock one. Favorite retro game? I'm actually going to tell you something fun. I actually bought a retro console today called the Evercade. So it's like really, really old school, and it's very collectible, and it looks really cool. It's got absolutely amazing reviews of Digital Foundry and other places. So I've got that. So I'm really interested to see how that is going to go. Favorite retro game? Here's a question: how far back do you go for retro now?
You can go as far back as you want.
No, as in, is PlayStation 1 retro? See that this is where we're getting into now.
It's probably classified. It's probably into the retro territory, but I'd still say a bit prior to that.
Then I will go for Megalomania as my favourite retro game, and my favourite ice hockey team is, I think everybody knows that, so we'll skip on.
Coventry Blaze.
No, Belfast Giants, not the Sheffield Steelers. What about you?
I think favourite game of all time. I am going to go with Uncharted 3. I think. Yeah, I think so. Uncharted 3 as my favourite game. I love the Uncharted franchise. It's brilliant. In terms of my favourite retro game, I am gonna go. I think I might end up predating the NES here, if I'm honest with you. I was tempted to kind of sit in that like NES bubble, because there were so many options that I could pick from that sort of time. But I am going to go for my favourite retro game. I am going to go with Asteroid.
That's really retro. So
Yeah.
it is. I'm actually looking up something here, because I'll come. Gandara, I've seen your point there about the new APK for Stadia. I was just looking. It's not in order here. Did you know that sort of stuff has been in there since Stadia launched? They have teased this sort of. I get to talk about on live. They've sort of teased an on live arena sort of thing. It's really, really cool. Guess who else has something like that? And there's actual video on it as well. GFN, they've got a feature where they can bring up all the different streams. This is what's really, really cool about cloud gaming, and this is why on live was so far ahead of its time. If on live launched now with proper tech, it would wipe. I'm telling you now, it would wipe the floor with every cloud gaming service there, because it had so many things just ahead of its time. So yeah, there's my little me talking about on live, the best ever cloud gaming service.
Excellent.
Oh, hi Kelly. Hope you're not sunburnt.
Well, hopefully not. Baking.
I have to be careful here. I have to jump between the two naughty things here. Game Pass Ultimate versus PlayStation Plus Premium. Who have you got?
Both.
Oh, which one's better?
Gonna go Ultimate. I think Game Pass Ultimate at this point in time is a better offering than PS Premium. What about you?
Without question, this PlayStation Premium is hands down better than Game Pass, just due to the quantity of games and the quality of games. There is a bit of an asterisk with that. If you own the PlayStation, we'll call them bangers because we're seeing people saying bangers there. If you own the PlayStation bangers, it actually reduces the value of PlayStation Premium down. If you don't, it's PlayStation Premium by an absolute landslide. It all depends on the games in your library. That sort of goes with with Xbox as well, but it's lessened because of the day one on. With Game Pass, we've already got next month's games, or this month's games have been announced. For people who don't know, games going into PlayStation Premium this month are Stray, Assassin's Creed, loads of Assassin's Creed, Saints Row 4, some stupid game called Avengers, and Final Fantasy VII, the big funky edition.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the July games, and they are. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've made use and utilised the PS Premium. I just kind of feel at this point in time, personally, and I have to say as well, completely on the back of that point, I'm loving the fact that the two of us have been at opposite ends of the spectrum on so many questions tonight.
Yeah, that's what you want, then.
It's been good. It's been really good.
I'm just saying. Hi Raven, thanks for joining. Just seeing if there's any other questions. Do you think Boosteroid will ever make a free subscription tier?
Nope. I don't think it's fun. It's not financially viable.
Yeah, nope. That is my reason as well. Boosteroid or Boosteroid by themselves, that's all they do is Boosteroid. With Nvidia, we touched on this when we actually went through the different tiers on GFN. I think Nvidia should ditch the free tier. I know that's because I don't think it's doing anybody's favors, but the reason why Nvidia can make that free tier is because they're Nvidia. They've got other things to back them up to make that viable, while Boosteroid don't.
Yeah.
Hi, Link. Thanks for joining. My favorite feature is crowd choice. I hope more developers take advantage of it. It's such an effort. It is. It's just so. With Stadia, it is just so underutilized, and that's the same with every single one of their features. It's either half baked or just not used enough.
Yeah. I was just checking something then. Sorry. I was just seeing Caseball's point where he was just kind of reminding me that obviously it's immersive stream, not just Stadia. Mm-hmm. I think that was in relation to what I was saying about kind of obviously Google and thinking about upgrading in the hardware and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that is 100% it. Too ahead of its time, and it's just painful.
I'd never. Do you know what? I have to say, I never played the Dreamcast.
It was great. Some of the accessories were there. xCloud keyboard and mouse support.
Yes, obviously we know that that's due to be coming hopefully later in the year. It's being kind of teased and talked about regularly now, kind of on varying levels. I think the first tease was obviously from the guys that the people at Flight Sim when they were talking with regards to that. But then it's also featured in kind of the XFest stuff. People have been talking about it, so it's definitely. I still feel that at the back end of the year, by the end of the year, it'll be here.
For people to actually play on the web. Because there's all the different ways. If you play on the web, mouse and keyboard support is available sort of in parts of games already. Like if you're typing in your name and stuff, that you can use your mouse and keyboard to do that. And if you want to use mouse and keyboard now, you can check our video on the channel and we show you how to do that. Happy, thank you for joining. Okay, let me see. Is there anything? Have I skipped two of Warlock's questions?
I'm just looking now. I'm just checking it. Where has he gone? Where has Warlock gone? You've even got me calling him Warlock now. Look.
Yeah, that's skills.
Bloody hell. There's no hope.
It hasn't shown up in our thing. We can just say that there. So, I just want to say, if there's any other questions...
hang on, but I found one of them.
If any other questions, drop them in now.
Yep. So, Warlock said, do you think we will see some sort of partnership in the future for cloud gaming services to launch on Sky or Virgin?
Oh, I did see that. I did worse. Sky or Virgin? I would lean more into Sky rather than Virgin.
See that it's interesting you say that. I would have gone the other way purely because of Virgin with EGX and the gaming show convention that they do down in London and the tie-up that they have with that. I might have felt that Virgin maybe would be more leaned in towards kind of doing something.
I just think Sky are more proactive.
There is that. Very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
And then the other one, just so we've not missed it from Warlock's perspective, how far back do you think Samsung will go with its gaming hub, as they have mentioned they will launch on older TVs?
I don't see them going too far back.
I don't think it's in their interest. I think they're probably. I imagine when they've said that comment, they've probably looked at their breakdown of what they've got in Series 7, Series 8, Series 9, and then obviously into, whatever, the new ranges. So I imagine they've probably got a good indication. My gut instinct says probably Series 9, maybe, I think. So anything new, and then as far back as Series 9, possibly, would be my guess, but that is a guess.
Okay, let me see here. I will answer that with yes. He answered it. I think 2020, whatever the 2020 probably would be most likely.
Yeah.
Do you think Stadia are only interested in selling their services as they spread out with less focus on gamers? Okay, this I'll go first, so I'll take the bullets first here. I think the workers at Stadia who are just focused on Stadia and they don't have any overlap with Project Stream and things like that. I think they want Stadia to succeed and they want to get as many games on the Stadia as possible. I think Google want the opposite. They want the tech to be pushed out as far as possible and for people to use their tech. So there's that. And I think there's work to be done with immersive stream as well. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, I think so. I forgot what I was going to say then. I've completely lost my train of thought. I think that Stadia... Yes, I mean, I think at the rate that they are announcing expansion, and obviously for obvious reasons saying that immersive stream is available in the same locations, that it feels to me like they flipped the switch, because they're talking about they've gone so far, in talking about Stadia, but now when you see a lot of the language, it's a lot of the fact that immersive stream is talked about, and it's what's been used for years to power Google Stadia type thing. So it feels to me like there is a shift in that direction, and that, I think, couple that with the possibly Duncan does not want me to say this clearly, because I think he knows what I'm about to say.
No, I'm thinking of the next question, and that was my thinking face.
Oh, I wondered why I've never seen it before. I think when you couple that with the personnel that are appearing to depart from Stadia, but then you're not seeing the headcount come back, that to me is also telling. When you look at personnel, where you see people talking about, I work at Google for immersive stream for gaming, but you're not seeing we've now just lost, or we're on the cusp pretty much of losing another part of the community management side of things. That, for me, if you start letting the community management drop, it says to me that the focus is on other areas.
I just paraphrase this a bit here. It's because there used to be 2 community managers and now there's only 1, or there appears to be only 1 at this moment in time. And hopefully that will change, but we can just say what it is at the moment. No, this is the question I was thinking of. Do you know if there's any other I clicked no. Can you tell me if there's any cloud gaming platforms with free subscription other than GFN? Dara's been very, very helpful in the chat and said like Stadia and then VPNs. I'm just trying to think on the top of my head there. xCloud's free for just Fortnite.
Yeah. I don't think there is off the top of... Not that instantly springs to mind that I'd say I would recommend that. But I guess it depends on the type of games you want to play as well.
Yeah. We've have an announcement here that Anthony's your new community manager. Congratulations, Anthony.
I always knew Google employed cowboys.
Yo! And Luca, iCasters went on to Stadia. So I think this is a good place to end it. Tomorrow is GFM Thursday, so you can check out that video. Friday, we've got some Xbox bits and bobs. Saturday, I will think of something.
We've got game content Saturday, haven't we?
Yes. And then Sunday, we'll talk about that.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all again soon.
Catch you later, guys. Bye.